Sanat Zambang Studios 16 Ways to Call It Out in 16 Days podcast. Join us as we uncover and unearth the silence, abuse, rape, harassment, and all forms of violence women face for just being women. The unheard stories, encounters, actions, and revelations of 16 advocates and activists. Subscribe, and together we delve into the legacy of what it truly means to be female, living and breathing in the 21st century.
Wow. Anyway, Tracy Naa Koshie Thompson.
Yes, good to see you again.
Yeah, always a pleasure seeing you read about your work. Yeah, always a pleasure. Anyway, 25th was your birthday, right?
Hey, yes, so.
Okay.
And yours was on Wednesday.
Yeah, mine was on Wednesday. And yours was on Monday.
So happy belated birthday to you as well.
Thank you.
Much. And happy birthday to you as well.
Hey, this thing you are turning back to me.
Turn it back to you.
Okay. Anyway, how has been your stay in Tamale? How has it been like?
Oh, it's been great. Like anytime I come, yes, get to be with my colleagues and friends.
All right.
That's great.
Okay.
Yes, we get to talk more about art and ambitions and all of that, to catch up on all that, so it's great.
All right. And currently, what's your topmost ambition?
Hey, my topmost ambition.
Yeah, you just talk about ambition and stuff. So topmost ambition.
Those ones are in-house.
In-house.
It's not everything we put out there.
Okay. All right. Okay. And how will I say? Workshop with the kids. Yes. So first of all, I know the last time we talked about your work, but briefly, can you just tell us what your work is all about?
Oh, okay. What my work is about for now, but generally I've been interested in forms of plasticity.
Okay.
So not just plastics in terms of material, but a scope of history, economics, or science, the science and material of plasticity itself. Yeah, so that has been my interest for a long time now, and one of the mediums that I've been using for some time is food.
Okay.
Yeah, so with my practice, I've become much more critical about food, particularly in the context of history, art history, in terms of still life forms, and going beyond certain forms of food representation, and looking at the materiality of food and what you can unearth from its interaction with microbes, and also the modes in which I post-produce food, because with the foods I'm interested in, it hasn't come back necessarily to human consumption, and for me that's a very critical aspect of my work. So it goes into microbial relations and non-human relations as well, which is part of my interest, and of course the material processes of which I use to transform these foods, and they could come like fabrics or just ambiguous materials in the air that you wouldn't necessarily recognize as food. So that's what my work has been about.
And how did you, should I say, stumble upon this, or envision this, or how did you come to this stuff? Because I've been trying for the last few days just to think about how you came to this. Yes, and I still can't find a way through.
This question there, everyone does ask me. Some things usually there are things that you do not plan for. You get me? There are things you stumble on, accidentals and all that. But of course, This was birthed through series of experimentations, and as an artist where you are beginning to start your practice or something, you do a bit of like soul searching, your interest. So I started with, okay, I have an interest. Actually, I didn't start from here at all.
Okay.
Because I remember when we were in Dr. Karî'kạchä, who is a lecturer in KNUST, where I still school. When we started to begin our independent practice as artists, you begin a lot of soul searching and all of that. So I of course would want to start from interest and all that. So initially I started experimentations with how do you call it, I had an interest in pyrography. Okay. That's burning of food and all of that. Then I transitioned into how do you call it, burning or melting of plastic. I used to work with leather, so I buy leathers and actually destroy. People will say destroy, but I was part of because it creates like scars that like burns on the skins, the way they melt and all of that. So that was one of the mediums, but I began to ask myself important questions, and for me, so through like series of like presentations and the school environment, the education we're receiving, it gives us the foundation to ask ourselves basic questions. So I started asking myself that, I was working with these leather materials, so I started going further. Okay, then let me study about plastics in general and all of that, and see what comes of it. So through research and all of that, then I started experimentations with, but that one it didn't really hint on me, though I have studied about plastics. I was reading generally about plastics and so on. It was later on that just casually in the market or something, then you stumble upon styrofoam. And I remember during our school time, people used to deal with just picking up found objects and just put them together or something. It became a formula, and I'm like, what else can you do to a material than just bringing it together? So that was it, and I saw people's works like Lois Adakwa, her work, and she's used styrofoam before and all of that. So he told me, okay, I would like to try something with styrofoam. Then later on, I was at markets, but I hadn't yet started. So at the markets, walking around, I stumbled upon styrofoam. So I was like, okay, what can I do to styrofoams to transform it chemically? Other than just bringing the parts together without necessarily dealing with the chemical transformation of the material. So that was what birthed everything, and already I have interest in science and all of that. So that was it for me. So I started experimenting with styrofoams, dealing with the way styrofoams could be dissolved, and in which its interaction with air and the air bubbles, because it's inflated polymers and all that traps bubbles, and that was very interesting to me. So it's that kind of generation of foam where you break down, because I break it down with petrol. So it's almost similar to what I'm doing. It's like there's that notion of decomposing something to compose another thing. So that was it. So I was working with styrofoam, petroleum based, and I was like, okay, then why don't I start using much more bio stuff or more organic stuff? And so from there, my research and all of that, I looked at a lot of people that use, because bioplastics aren't anything new. It's not like I discovered bioplastics. So I just look at how it has been treated, and try and do something a bit more different. So from there, I realized, okay, a lot of bioplastics are based on recycling waste, or they'll be cultivated, made from raw materials, maybe potato, or usually the dominant ones in the bioplastic industry, if it's not waste, it's either made from potato. And in India, I know cassava. but then I was like, why don't I use something that is not necessarily something in between?
Yeah.
It's not waste, and start dealing with processed and reprocess it again, like post-production.
Yeah.
So instead of going maybe for the raw style, I'm like, why don't I go for the biscuits? Why don't I go for the KFC or anything, or my wache or jollof? And for me, that poetically was more interesting than me just going for the raw. Though of course at times I do use like the raw starches or proteins or whatever material I use for my work.
Wow.
And yeah, that's it.
And now we are here.
Yes, we're here.
Interesting. And the last time I spoke to Ibrahim, he said, he said something about doing something way beyond the conventional artwork we know as people, and also as Africans. That brings me to my next question. But we focus that one, we double it down to the workshop.
Yes.
Yeah, the workshop we had with the kids. What did you observe throughout this week working with the kids? What did you observe about them in relation to what you were? I saw that you were letting them have hands-on. They were doing it themselves. You didn't actually like lead everything. They were doing it. So what did you observe so far?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Of course, when you are kids, it also depends on which school, because some of the kids, in looking at the schools they come from, you could tell the kind of training they have. Especially when you meet maybe a certain section of schools where it's like there are probably like students who are used to instructions. You have to tell them how everything must be to very like you dictate. And kids that are a bit more free, they don't wait for you to, you just tell them, oh, do whatever, there's nothing like wrong or right. Just do whatever. Some will feel free, some are not so much. So those are some of the things, and it's been very interesting because it was an opportunity for me to also learn from the kids. Because some of them are really, really interesting. There's one kid, I wish to mention his name, they've written their names on the works. Though, some of them, I was surprised what they were making out of it. One boy, though I didn't tell them to draw anything as such, but he was drawing negative, and that was very outstanding to me, because I'm like, when you're a kid and you're doing drawing, you don't do like silhouettes, negative like shadows and all that. It's not drawing the positive, if you get me, where light reflections and all that. And where the kid was drawing from negative, that was pretty impressive. And I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. So it's been that. And of course, with this, with the nature of the work I do, and a lot of the starches and everything pertaining to each food gives different outcomes. So some of the materials that were added for this workshop, I haven't actually worked with them.
All right.
So I myself was to even observe how the kids will even use it, and the outcomes that will come from it.
Wow, that's good. And now let's shift gears to this whole exhibition. This is not Africa. Unlearn what you have learned. You did go to I don't know which country was it. Was it Netherlands or where? You and Ibrahim, you did
yes, we were in Vienna, Austria.
Australia. Australia. You're in Australia. And like, was it part of this whole exhibition, or it was a different thing together?
No, it's part. It's a collaborative exhibition with. Yes, it's wait. At times the exhibitions I end up confusing them.
Okay. Because if this is Australia, then it was not part of this.
No, this is Arus. No. It's not the one that I traveled
with Ibrahim.
This is different.
That was a different one. Okay.
And this one is in collaboration with Arus Museum in Denmark.
All right. And you met other artists too as well. But let me.
Remember, it was COVID.
Yes.
As well, so
yeah.
you don't actually meet so many people.
Many people, yes.
Yeah.
I think it was more virtual and distance and all that. But what I want to get is when someone listens to you talk about your work, or when someone observe what you do, it's a lot of sciencey stuff in there. But I heard somewhere, maybe a bird told me how your mom was able to give you a simple idea when you were trying to figure out which solution and all that, and she was like, use salt. That's what we use salt. Like, what dilemma were you in, and how did she save your life with that particular idea of salt?
Yeah, of course. Like, yeah, the substance of starch is very much sensitive to heat. So, yeah, there were one of the works that I was working on. It's not all of them that I controlled in that way. Yeah, like issues with the temperature not drying quickly, like the material was giving me issues, easily decaying because of the temperature fluxes. And I was thinking too far. You know how those things are. You are in your box for a long time, and you don't even look at the simple things. It takes someone outside to just but use salt, and that was it. I was like, hey, as someone. So these are some of the things that like informs my practice. The interactions and all of that also helps to like reinvent how I look at my work, and even influence how like new works that I want to go into. They are influenced actually from friends. You know that Patrick is over here, Patrick Okanta. He has influenced my work so much, so much. Yeah, so many of my interactions with friends and all of that also help to create the kind of work and grow new things from it.
All right. So let me talk about your should I say fellow partner in this artist partner. So so that our people will not think differently. Artist partner Eric.
Yes.
Eric Jemfi.
Yes.
Eric Jemfi is also thinky type like you are. Like,
oh yes. Eric is like one of my favorite artists.
So like when you heard the news that you two will be part of this exhibition, like were you like you said, were you interested, or like were you looking forward to see what is Eric going to do, and will I be able to match up that kind of thing?
No, there's no competition. I don't know. I hardly do anything with the mindset of competing or anything.
No, but like just expecting what Eric will be coming up with.
Oh yes, I know for sure, 100%. Like he's going to come up with something very interesting. Already, what he's doing is very interesting as well. Like being able, if you look at where he's coming from in terms of photography, and to be able to shift photography just beyond the conventions of senses and all that, to deal with the material of plants, interaction with chemicals directly and all of that. And for me that is very interesting, and not necessarily photography that always ends up on a photo paper or on a paper, you get me, but on glass, on different, and the entire process much more interesting than the conventions we know of photography, and that's very fascinating. Yes. So and it inspires me so much, honestly.
So all these like unconventional things you all are doing, like you mentioned Eric and Patrick, Ibrahim, which is ecological. I usually say the guy who brings dead things back to life. Like,
but our works are related. I and Eric very much related. If you look at the history of plastics and photography, they are knitted.
When I was reading about I realized that
because plastics have always been used most of the times as substrates. Yes, that's substrates that how do you call it, have the imprints and hold the imprints of of light.
Of light,
it
yeah.
embodies it as material.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. So this unconventional thinking, where is it leading us to? Because that's the next question. Like all this artwork, all this, where is it leading us to?
When you say something is unconventional, then it must not lead to something. When it leads to something, it means to an end, then it has become a convention. And of course, things that become unconventional can always be co-opted by capitalism or any form of, it can end up, becoming something cage or cliche at a certain point in time. Yeah, so the thing is to keep experimenting and having that attitude. Yeah, other than settling. So we still don't know where it leads to. Yeah.
Okay. So it's just like
so we keep going, we keep asking new questions about art and expanding what it is.
And something like the final frontier, like
yes.
Okay. Right. Okay. Final set of questions so that we just let's talk about the institution, especially art institutions. In Ghana, what do you think? Aside from KNUST, do you think that art is going further, like the attitude of people towards art? Because it's like KNUST, Black Star Lines, like it's like that is the only community of art we usually see. Is there hope that it will expand? Because it seems like until people heard of Ibrahim, some of us heard of Ibrahim, we never knew something like Black Star Line, but we knew of KNUST. So like how do you hope this community will expand so it will be part of our day, like we hear of D Black, Sarkodie and other things? Like it should be something that we hear of.
These things are not really forced. It's a matter of time.
Okay.
But of course, when you say art, it depends because we are doing fine art.
Okay.
And our interest will be slightly different from maybe commercial galleries and all of that. There are differences.
Okay.
So yeah, those are some of the things. But there's more than that. There's how do you call it? There's Fabenefiachi, but many of them, of course, are outshoots of Black Star Lines and all that, because still in terms of academia in arts, in terms of offering fine arts as degree, is still only in Kumasi. That's perhaps the reason why it's like KNUST, because if you want a degree, usually
you have to go to KNUST.
You go to KNUST, but we are hoping for more.
Okay.
Yeah, that is why institutions like SCCA is coming, and it's not going to be the only thing.
Okay. All right. And ending, like so with this experiment that we don't know when we are finishing this, I guess mom is like, alright, so when are you finishing? Like your mom or parents might be asking, like, where will this lead to? Will you become a professor in fine arts? Are you going to teach? Are you going to also open an institution?
Okay, I didn't get what you were saying.
No, this is a new question. Like I'm just asking, like for you, would you where would you end up in?
Where would I end up in?
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. I like experimenting with a whole lot of things.
Okay.
And of course, like for teaching is very important.
Yeah.
You get me? So for me in the future, of course, I foresee myself, yes, in academia and also teaching, and also with my interests. I'm here to share my art and also my interest in research and all of that. And of course, you mentioned about science and all that. I'm very interested in science, and I think many of us as artists here, the impact of our art is not only within the domains of art. It could be even something economic, revolution or something that would start. Because what Ibrahim is doing, I don't think it's just within the domains of art. It's also affecting communities and children and all of that. And that's why the library we are sitting here has books concerning different subjects, not only like art. You get it? So we are looking forward to collaborations and all of that. Yeah. And unless maybe you wanted to ask me about personal projects or anything.
Yeah, that will be my next line. Personal projects, because definitely
yes.
if this ends in January, we want to see more of what you do. In as much as you like to be in the laboratory cooking something.
Yes, yes. But me personally, in the future, I'm looking at, especially my interest in microbiology and all of that, is my interest to set up a research hub. Yes, where not only scientists but people from any field could come for research and have access to any equipment and all of that, because that has been a lot of the stumbling block when it comes to creating art within certain
the scientific realm.
Yes, having access to certain basic machines at times to work with is a bit difficult. And with artistic production, when you don't have the tools, it's very difficult to realize certain forms of work. So yes, that's what in the future we are hoping to do. Already Ibrahim has hinted on some of these things, talking about MIT, that kind of MIT arts and science.
Alright. But do you have a feeling that this whole thing, this particular one you're talking about, you might partner with Eric James? I just have, like what you're saying, I just have a feeling that you might partner with Eric James. Because the two of you, like your work,
your work
you do
for James,
because
why not
use natural leaves and all that and things like that, and you're also into these micros and all that.
Yes.
So I just have a feeling that you might want to partner with.
You seem to be a prophet.
Yeah, I just
You seem to be a prophet.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, why not?
Right.
It will be such an honor.
Alright. But that will be in the future. But after this exhibition, is there something you probably would work on after this exhibition?
Oh yes,
either
there are a couple
just on
of
your solo or
let me not give away too much.
Okay.
Oh, definitely. I've been planning for a solo for a very long time.
Okay.
Definitely.
Definitely. All right. So are we supposed to travel to Accra or Kumasi or or Tamale?
For now, the location is not set. When it gets there,
we'll know. Okay. All right. When we get there, we know.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. So final stages, and we are done. Final stages. Other artists coming up. Like you've had other people studying under you too as well. I know you have other people studying under you. Yeah, definitely. Okay. You can't be doing something like this and no one will see it and like,
I understand it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So other people studying. Yeah. So like when you have people who are also looking at your work and learning, trying to find their purpose through your work, does it come with some pressure? When they meet you and tell you, okay, I want to understudy you, I want to do this, like does it come with some form of pressure? Yeah, pressure. Like it comes with pressure. Yes, pressure.
Oh no, not necessarily. Maybe because I always look at things as more of a how do you call it, when anytime someone is approaching me, whether the person says, oh, I want to learn from you, in my head, oh, I'm also coming to learn from you.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily put myself in the pressure like, hey, I'm carrying someone I'm going to empower. I honestly don't think that way at all.
Right.
I'm going to empower someone or anything.
Okay. All right.
Because I don't think I hold all the solutions and hold everything, yes, but for me it's always like a give and take for me. And anytime like students or anyone approach me, for me it's a friendship.
Okay.
So I'm not so tensed up about maybe mentoring.
All right.
Okay. I don't see things that way.
Okay. And in terms of like how will I put it, your field of work kind of feels like it's like you're alone in it.
I'm not alone.
You're not alone. Yeah, I know you're not alone, but sometimes, like when you come like the other art you're talking about, not the fine art, the other art, like you can walk around stadium or cultural centers and you see them like they're like
They're
a
all doing
whole
the same
community,
thing.
like something like that, and you're okay, yeah. But yours is like it's like you are one hand you are in the science world and the other hand you're in the fine art world. So it's like you are kind of very unique in way.
Understand you.
Yeah. So sometimes that is it kind of lonely in there?
Oh, no. I'm not the only artist that think this way in Ghana.
Okay. So you have family. You have a
there
family.
are lots of people. There are lots of
Okay.
people.
Hey.
People like Ajo Kisses. There like a lot.
All right. Okay.
There are lots of, especially in the Kumasi school, there are
So,
lots
yeah.
of people doing collaborations with scientists, and
Okay.
the region fee is also one,
Is
so I'm
one.
not alone.
Yeah, but education own is
Yes.
a bit different. It's
Oh, of
more
course,
of
definitely.
but yours is
Materials
very,
Thank
very
you.
unique. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So my final word about let's talk about the son Ibrahim. Yeah, and the institutions we have right now. You have worked with him, you have traveled with him, and
Yes,
all
please.
that. What kind of responsibility do you think he has placed on himself? Because yeah, because it's like
Yes,
he could have
it's
just
a
built,
huge responsibility.
yeah, because he could have just built a house, get some cars, like so we come and we party every
come and
Saturday,
party.
yeah. But he's
Yes.
doing all these things, and I know the economy we live in, the bureaucracy we have,
yes.
like access to certain things are not easy.
Yes.
When you look at him daily, like we see him travel, like, oh yeah, he's with this white person, like but when you look at him all the time, like what do you see, or what do you feel for him?
Oh yes, like I have great respect for him, honestly, and of course, like what he's doing, I don't think it's a matter of getting validation from any center or Europe or traveling outside, and it means what he's doing is significant. You know, for me, what he's doing is significant regardless. And yes, it comes with very huge challenges, of course, in building an institution and almost self-funding most of the things. Yeah, so that's it. I have great admiration for him, and it gives many of us so much faith, because when we're even up till now in school and all of that, we didn't have so many examples of artists that yes, are able to like earn a living or something, and not just that, artists that were doing something very significant that is globally could get, of course, that kind of recognition that yes, what they are doing is globally also significant, not just in their locality. Yeah, so for me, that's it with Ibrahim, and I thank him so much that he's given all of us this opportunity to be able to dream, of course, and have faith. And yes, I know that there are big things and more things to happen, and I'm so happy for the little kids who are getting to see all these things. Yeah, and we are all hoping to help in building of this, whether there's government support or not. We are independent artists and want to build something that in the end is for everyone and anyone around the world. Yes, but we are starting from the north and we'll grow into many other places around the world.
All right. So my last question has to do with the kids, like you just mentioned. Was this the first time you had to do your experiment with the kids?
This is my first time. Okay, there have been a kid. Yes, there's one kid. There's one kid that I've worked with. Before. Yes, but first time like workshop with kids. So, it was interesting.
All right.
Interesting.
Funny question. At some point, did you imagine that maybe one day you do that with your kids?
Oh, why not? It will be fun.
Okay. All right. Hope they don't say mommy is boring.
What do you mean?
I hope they don't say mommy is boring.
Oh, no.
Mom, can we just eat this work and go back to sleep?
Well, let's see, but My work will not always be on only food, of course.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
but
It
I
will
know that
evolve.
they will always tease me.
Yeah,
on that
I know they
and
will
worry
tease
me.
you. Yeah, I know. If they don't, I will help them come up with ways to tease you.
That's fine.
Yeah.
There's always food available in my studio.
Yeah, that's a good thing about visiting your studio in future.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank you very much,
Tracy
Fishbone.
Naa Koshie Thompson.